Howdy, howdy. Welcome back. It's another Workshop Wednesday. This week's edition is a strategy session. And we're going to talk today about answering that age-old question, can you trust your Google Analytics? All right, before we get too far into this, welcome. If this is your first Workshop Wednesday, my name is Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You should as well. I am the co-founder of a company called measurementmarketing.io. And whether you found us through some of the podcasts and talks that we give, maybe through some of the content that we've shared with other platforms like CXL Institute or Social Media Examiner, maybe even Digital Marketer or Measure Summit, which, by the way, is coming up in September. So get ready to party on with Measure Summit. And then, of course, maybe you're already a member of measurementmarketing.io. However you found us, we are happy that you're here. It's our job to help people just like you learn how to use these tools. And in today's workshop, it's more of a strategy session. So it's about thinking about using the tools. Now, we do have our flagship product, which is the Measurement Marketing Academy. For those of you who really want to dive into this, the reason we created the Academy really was to help you learn the measurement marketing framework. Now, you don't need the Academy to learn this. I'm going to make that up front. You don't have to buy the Academy to get this. So that's why we're going to go through the framework now so you can review it. 3 simple steps. You plan out your measurement, you build out your measurement, and then you act upon your measurement implementation, right? You use what you build. So when you start off in marketing, we typically are marketing the blind. Maybe that's you doing it, maybe it's your team or your boss, but they are probably marketing the blind. What they want, what you want, what we all want, is a marketing system that predictably grows revenue and results. So how do we do that? Well, you start with a plan and you ask which questions, you actually list down, I should say, which questions you're trying to get answers to. Then you figure out what information you need to collect in order to get those answers. Then you think about the actions you're going to take based upon the answers you get. That is a proper plan. If you haven't gone through all 3 of those steps, your plan needs work. Go back and work on your plan. Now, once you've got your plan in place, then you go into the build. That's where you're working with tools like Google Analytics to help identify the traffic. Then you have to make sure you're tying it to results, that you're measuring for the results. You're measuring for your traffic coming in, you're measuring for the results from that traffic, and you do it in a way that structures it in a story. That's the idea. Now, once you have that done and you've properly used tools like Tag Manager and Google Analytics and Data Studio to build that out, then you just use it. You act on it. That is where you read the reports to get your benchmarks. You then forecast your near future based upon your previous past. And then ultimately you start to optimize because you're going to measure against your forecasts. That's what will tell you what's working and what's not. And you'll know exactly where to focus your own team's resources in order to improve your results and ultimately get to the point where you have a predictable system. That is the measurement marketing framework in a nutshell. All right, now with this training, we're going to go into a strategy session about how to think about stuff. So we're just going to go one step at a time. But remember, we're going to cover a lot of different aspects. So if you've heard something that's maybe slightly different, or you kind of go like, I should try that, or think about it this way, practice that one thing, practice that skill. Then come back, rewatch this workshop, and you will pick up another new one thing. It's why we make them publicly available. All right, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Strategy session. Can you trust your Google Analytics? Now, this is a question that is often asked, that we've been asked a lot by different clients that are coming to us or students that are coming in. I know students have been asked that question. Maybe you've even asked that question of your own Google Analytics. I know I certainly have. So let's go ahead and dive right in and we'll tackle about how to think about this. And we're going to start with the short answer. The short answer is yes. Come on, what am I going to say? We train Google Analytics. Of course you can trust Google Analytics. The real answer, it depends. Maybe you can trust it. It depends. I don't know for a fact. I just know that, yes, you will eventually be able to trust it if things are done right, but maybe. And this is really the best answer. And this is one of our key, what we call isms in measurement marketing when we go to teach it at measurementmarketing.io. And one of our isms is trust but verify. That is how you think about Google Analytics. Yes, of course you're going to trust it, but you need to go back and verify. So let's talk about that and what this actually looks like. So let's go into here's why, or here's how to think about it. And here's why we are talking about this trust but verify concept. So I'm going to start first with Lucidchart, our little handy dandy tool here. And we're going to go into a Venn diagram. So I'm going to pull, and this is something we call triangulating the truth, right? Easy tongue twister for me to say, triangulating the truth. So here's what we mean by that. Let's pretend this circle is all of your Facebook traffic. I'm going to minimize that just a little bit. Let's pretend, this is what Facebook's telling you is happening. Let's pretend, let's go with green and say this is what your cart is saying is happening when it comes to traffic and results. And then let's say that, let's use orange. Well, it's not quite, this is close enough to an orange. Let's say this is Google Analytics, and Google Analytics is telling you this is what's happening with the traffic, right? We're just using this as an example right now. So we've got 3 traffic sources, 3 different ways of measuring our data. That's why we're keeping it simple. And they're all telling us, in this case, roughly the same thing. We're just using the size of the circle. I want you to sort of visualize like, okay, they're basically telling you the same thing, like 100 people, 100 people, 100 people, roughly, let's just say. Now, what you really do is you don't look at Facebook and says, oh, well, Facebook says let's pretend it was sales. Facebook says I made 100 sales, so therefore I'm going to trust Facebook. You don't go to Google Analytics and say, well, Google Analytics says I made 100 sales, so I'm just going to blindly trust Google Analytics. You definitely don't do that, because both of these platforms, Facebook and Google Analytics in this case, they're not really the one that's doing the action. They're not recording that behavior. They're being told what happened. So they're being actually dictated to by, in this example, our cart. Right? Green for the money. So there's our cart. So the cart system is what points and dictates to what's going to happen and what this thing gets told. And, that didn't quite work. So it gets dictating what this happens here, and it also dictates the story, what this platform gets, right? So the cart is where you actually can more than likely trust the data. And in our case, I'll tell you, I don't even trust my cart. I trust the merchant processor when I pull my credit card settlement statements, because that is the thing where the bank is saying, yes, it worked, and here's, the credit card happened, because sometimes cards have errors too. But roughly, you get the idea of what I'm saying, right? You want to go to the source that is most likely to be closest to the actual action you're wanting. Everything that's farther away from it, in the case of Facebook, it gets told when a conversion happens. In the case of Google Analytics, it gets told when an e-commerce sale happens. So, of course, they might be told the wrong thing sometimes, right? So that can happen. It depends on your implementation, but that can happen. Now, the real way that we use this, and this is kind of more of a real world scenario, especially when it comes to Facebook, is typically you'll see things like, oh, Facebook's saying I made, 200 sales. And my cart says, oh, hey, you made 50 sales. I'm just going to do this by the shape here. And then Google Analytics says, yeah, well, really, it was like 150 sales. And it kind of looks like this, right? The data's sort of all over the place. And one says one thing, one says something completely different. And we're kind of like, all right, I don't know what I can trust. So this is where, from a strategy perspective, and this will happen, right? Things like this happen. Remember, it's because this could have just been told the wrong thing, because this could have been told the wrong thing. This is the one more likely you're going to trust, because the cart, in this case, is the cart system is closest to the action. It's closest to the behavior that you're looking for. So that's the one that's probably going to be more trustworthy. So when you have this issue, and you will, that you absolutely will, this stuff is going to happen because tech changes and platforms change, and this stuff starts happening. So when something like this happens, what do? Yes, you go through and you try to fix it. And again, remember, if you're the strategist, maybe you're not the one in the platforms. So you work with your implementation team and make sure they know how to fix it, right? Or work toward fixing it. But in reality, what we use is a handy little ism. It's another ism, which is called truth. I'm just going to say technically it's the truth. And those of you who've been around our trains for a while already know what I'm about to do. The truth is in the trend. I can type this out, and the power is in the pattern. That's what we're looking for, trends and patterns. This is how you manage your numbers. Whenever you're looking at data, you remember this phrase: the number does not matter. What really matters is truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern. Because when you know trends and patterns, you will be able to find the truth into what it is that you're looking for. So what we're going to do, using truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern, is we would look at this and say, okay, so far this is like our snapshot. And then what I would look for is a trend. This is like a snapshot. Let's pretend we pulled this for a week's worth of data. And then I would look the next week. Now, if the next week Facebook says, or the next day, whatever the time period is you're looking for, if Facebook says, oh, actually now we only did, let's say, 50 sales, right? So it shrunk down a little bit. And if the cart stays the same and Google Analytics stays the same, meaning they didn't change week over week, they're saying the same things now, I probably have an implementation issue, because this thing it shrunk down, but these other ones didn't. What I would expect to happen is that this would say, yeah, that's about right. You lost about half your sales. And GA would say, yeah, it's about right. We made about half the sales, and everything sort of shrinks down, right? So now what's happened is proportionally, they're kind of the same thing, right? I know I'm using shapes right here, but that's the idea, is just to think about this: truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern. So just to zoom out a little bit here and give another head-to-head example. So if these all get a little bigger, they should grow in proportion like that. Patterns and trends are all the same. So if one's going up, everything should go up. If they are all going down, they should all go down proportionally, something like that, right? So that one's They're all the same proportions. That's what you're looking for. Truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern. So what that's telling you is, if Facebook's saying, hey, things went down by 50%, your cart should say things went down by 50%. Google Analytics would say something like things went down by 50%. And you've got a truth. You've got something you can use. You have something you can trust. You can always trust in trends and patterns, right? You can trust in trends and patterns. The trick is finding them. But they're really not that hard if you think about it. You just want to do that. So that's sort of the first thing I wanted to discuss. When we're thinking about this, you have to sort of, truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern, you do that. Now, what about this triangulation of data? So we talked about this before, triangulating the truth. The way that this basically works is you set up your measurement system. Let's zoom into Facebook here. We set up a measurement system for our little Facebook, and we get that running. We make sure that the cart is doing its thing, and hopefully it's got something close to a reasonable truth. And then we make sure Google Analytics has the same sort of truth. And again, you're working with the implementation teams, if that's not you, to make sure that this is getting a useful truth, right? Something that's reasonably useful for you to use. Notice I do not say accurate. There is no such thing. We call it the A word here. So it's not about accuracy, but it is about usefulness. So the way to think about this is Facebook's version of the truth. This is your cart's version of the truth. This is GA's version of the truth. And what happens is the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's between all three, right? It's in the middle here. So that's why a Venn diagram is kind of a good way to think about it, because you're not going to use one traffic source to get everything. One traffic source is not enough. It's not right. You should never use just one, I'm saying traffic source, but it should be data source. One reporting platform. You can never use just one. You want to use at least two or three to be able to triangulate. Technically, three would be the proper term there, to triangulate the truth. So you can say, okay, well, here's what Facebook's saying. Here's what my cart says. Here's what GA says. Well, here's what Facebook says. Here's what Google Ads says. Here's what GA says. So try to get different versions of the truth, different viewpoints of that truth. And you'll see that roughly the truth is in the middle somewhere, right? That's what you're really looking for. When you look for your trends and your patterns, that's where they are. They're going to be in here. And remember, of course, the patterns, right? And so if one says that things doubled and the other says that things doubled and the other says that things doubled, then probably things doubled, right? The truth is good. But if one says that things shrunk and the other ones don't move, there's probably an issue here, right? This is an implementation issue, so you really can't trust that data. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because before we jump into Google Analytics, I wanted you to think about and have an understanding of why you might go into Google Analytics. So I know I'm picking on poor Facebook here, but let's pretend it was Google Analytics that said, hey, things doubled, right? E-commerce, you sold $1 million this week, congratulations. And nothing else said that you sold $1 million. Well, then obviously in this case, I would say you definitely cannot trust your Google Analytics. You have an implementation issue because the other platforms didn't bump up in sales. So why did this one? That means somebody probably set something up and it's over-reporting. Same thing if GA goes way down, right? You can say, oh, your traffic dropped off to practically nothing. But Facebook's not saying anything and the cart doesn't seem to show sales that have dropped. Well, GA's probably got an implementation issue, right? And so you want to focus on that because you really can't trust what it's telling you because it's not coordinating with the other measurement platforms that you've got, which is why it's so important to use multiple measurement platforms so you can triangulate the truth, as we say. All right, so enough about kind of the overall general idea of this, the thinking through it. Let's talk about Google Analytics and go into Google Analytics. Now, this is the universal edition of Google Analytics. There is, of course, Google Analytics 4, which is the new kid on the block. But right now, as of July 2021, or right toward the end of July 2021 when we're recording this, this is the one that's not really being used by everybody yet. It certainly will be over the next 6 months. So we're going to focus on Universal because that's the one everyone's probably still using for 2021. Remember, just a public service message, 2022 is going to be the year of GA4. So please, if you haven't already, get your team and get yourself some skills on Google Analytics 4. We can help you with some training on that as well. We've got courses available and we're actually redoing the Google Analytics 4 course live training for our members in August. So coming up in just a couple weeks, we'll be doing that. Okay, so let's go back into Universal Analytics and let's talk about how do we actually debug stuff as we're coming through. So the first thing that I would do, if it's an e-commerce thing, when you come through and you check, first thing we do is come into conversions, go to e-commerce and go to product performance. Now, this would be a different report. It'll still say product list though, if you're using enhanced analytics, the enhanced e-commerce it's called. So you'll see product list, but that's the idea. Get your product list report. First thing you do. And remember, you don't have to be an expert at Google Analytics to do what I'm going to do. I'm assuming you're more of a strategist, since this is a strategy session. So we're going to just keep it very high level. But what you do is you click on the secondary dimension, and then you type in source medium. This gives you an additional what they call dimension, and it just breaks it down by traffic source. So you can see what the product was, and you can see what the traffic source was that sent that product in, right? That's how this whole thing works here. So when you see something like this, that's actually coming through, what you're looking for, again, even as a strategist, you could do this, is number one, are the number of sales roughly correct, right? Now, there will be a time where something won't record because somebody's got cookies that are disabled or something like that. Like that happens, and it's going to happen more with time. But if your cart says, hey, I've got 6 sales and it says 4, close enough, right? Remember, if your cart says 12, this should say 8, right? Basically that they both doubled. So you're always looking at trends and patterns, and that's what you're looking for, so that you have that trend and pattern intact and it's consistent. But if it's roughly close enough, I go, okay, this is close enough. So first thing I'm doing is checking the number. Second thing I'm doing is checking the individual numbers to make sure this data makes sense. Now, this is where you would have to understand the operation of your store or your product, whatever it is that you're selling and reporting to Google Analytics. In our case, you can't buy multiple products. So if I ever saw something that said 3 quantity and 1 unique, I know something's off, because we will never have more than 1 here. That's just not what we do. They're all digital products. You don't buy more than 1. You just buy the 1 account. So I know it should always be a 1-to-1 ratio for me. For other things, it might not be. So as an example, I'm going to flip into our Google Analytics demo accounts. So give me a second to pull it up here. And this is the Google Analytics, go to the right account, Google Analytics Merchandise Store. I'm going to go to the Universal Analytics version that they have. And we're going to take a look at the enhanced e-commerce. So I can show you essentially the same thing, but this is the enhanced one. So if you have like a Shopify store, this is probably the one you're using. We're going to go into product, where is it here? Product performance, there you go. And under product performance, we're going to see a list of the products, right? Same basic idea and same thing. I'm just going to do source medium. And what I'm looking for, again, is first things first, I'm looking for the number of products. I would go to the cart system if I was working for Team Google, and I would say, okay, did we sell roughly about 2,000 different transactions? Yes, we did. Okay, great. Then I would look at this, right, and see, does this make sense? Here's my uniques, but I sold more than that. Well, in this case, this is physical goods. So, of course, people will buy more than one occasionally. I'm just making sure that it generally makes sense, and so far this does, right? No big deal. Now, this one's a little interesting. The Google Campus Bike Mini Backpack, there's 46 based on 7. So it's possible that somebody bought a bunch of these things because they wanted to give them away. Like maybe it could be something like that, these little mini backpacks. But right now, 7 purchases accounted for 46 sales. So I would dig into that. But again, you could easily do that with your team, and they might say, yeah, we had one guy buy 4 of them. Great, right? Perfect. So you have that. But if this was a consistent pattern where I noticed this over and over again, that's sort of like 7 to, 1 to 3 ratio, whatever that ends up being, 1 to 4 ratio, I guess. The idea here is if that happens over and over again, then I know I have an implementation issue, right? In this case, I probably don't. It's probably just somebody bought a lot. So that's great. Now, the next thing you check, so again, we checked about the numbers. We checked just the ratio to make sure it makes sense for whatever your business model is. Then you check this, the source medium report. Now I'm going to go back to mine for a second. Now, it's a little easier because we sadly have less transactions than Google, but hey, that's okay. The source medium, you can see there's different ones. That's all I really care about, is that there's different ones. What this tells me is that different traffic sources, this is one of you watching the YouTube coming in and purchasing the Academy. Thank you for that. This is one of the best things about Google Analytics, is that it can tell which traffic source caused a result to happen. In this case, the result being a product sale. So what I look for is variety, right? I'm not trying to figure out and answer the questions about which traffic source is the best one to use. That's not what I'm doing right now. We're trying to see if we can trust our GA data. So here I can see, okay, well, there's different traffic sources being attributed to different sales coming in. Some people came direct, some people came through Google after doing organic search. Others came in through watching the YouTube videos that you're watching now. So that sort of stuff. It's like, okay, this is great. So we have all of that coming through, and I've got variety, which probably means my traffic is my implementation is set up correctly. Now, this is all direct none. And this would initially kind of scare me a little bit, with the exception that if you look down here, I'm only looking at 10 of 303. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this out. And again, I'm just kind of auditing, I'm debugging our Google Analytics, right? And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down here and I'm just scrolling down to see if everything is direct none, right? Now, this one's not. All I need is variety. So I go, okay, maybe that traffic is okay, but I come through and there's some other variety. There's more partner affiliate here, more partner affiliate here, more partner affiliate here. So I have a little bit different traffic sources that are coming through, but that's really it. Now, if, and this is hypothetical, but if I was running Google ads and spending a bunch of money on Google ads, which if I was Google, I would do, because, I own it if I'm Google, but I don't see Google ads getting credit for anything. So there might be a problem with an implementation there. And I would work on my implementation team with this idea of trust but verify, which means trust it's set up correctly, but be really skeptical and verify that it is set up correctly. In fact, the way you really do it is you verify that it's set up incorrectly. You look for what's wrong, not for what's right. And that way you're more likely to see the errors that are staring you at the face. And this could be one of them. It's good that we have some different traffic sources coming through, even though they're far and few in between, like this partner affiliate traffic here. But it's bad that there's not a lot. And again, if I'm doing a lot of Google ads, maybe something's going on there and we got to get the implementation team on it. But that's how I would know if I could trust my numbers when it comes to Google Analytics, specifically with e-commerce. Again, I would obviously check revenue as well. It's a dead giveaway. If the cart says you sold 300,000 and Google Analytics says you sold 38,000, that's probably pretty off. Now, the popular question is, well, how close should these numbers be? In a perfect world, within 10%, right? It used to be much closer. Now it's within 10%. As the world grows in data, which it will, I would very much expect that number to grow as well, meaning things will be off by more than 10%, probably in the future. I would imagine over the next year, you'll start to see that sort of pattern. Why? Because you have platforms like Brave out there, tech browsers that are like that. You've got the way tech's changing, like with Apple and iOS is coming out. It's harder to measure. There are people that just use ad blockers. There are people who don't want to be measured for privacy purposes. There are laws that are out there that are coming out more and more around privacy. So there's going to be a bigger discrepancy between the data. But remember, when I say that, I mean between what your cart says and what Google Analytics is able to record, right? But remember, this is the most important lesson of all of this. The truth is in the trend, the power is in the pattern. That is what you're looking for. So even if, let's pretend these are all fairly equal, and then with time, this starts happening. Google starts getting told less. Facebook starts getting told less because they just can't record because of the way the laws are going or whatever. So this happens. Let's pretend it happens, and this becomes the new normal, right? This is what you're looking for. You're looking for this sort of pattern in terms of truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern. So as your sales go up, so should the rest of them. They should work in lockstep. As your sales go down, so should the rest of them. They would work in lockstep. That's what it should look like. So even though they will be off, they should still be, the pattern should be the same. The trend should be the same between them. That's what you're looking for. And remember, that's the focus of this as you're going through. Okay, so enough about e-commerce. Let's talk about one other thing that is a dead giveaway when you're going into pages. And we're staying in the Google store for a moment. I'm going to go here. We're going to go to ours because ours is just set up a lot better than Google Analytics is. I shouldn't say Google Analytics. It's better than Google's for sure. So we're going to come into behavior. We're going to go to site content. And we're going to go to all pages. Now, this is another dead giveaway for a very quick, can I trust the number of users I'm being told? Can I trust the number of page views I'm being told? That sort of thing. Because we don't want to make the assumption that I have 2,000 different page views, or in this case, 1,000 unique ones, roughly 1,400 unique ones, and then go, well, great, that's what my traffic is, so now I should expect X amount of sales coming from that traffic source, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to make those decisions if I don't know that this is a useful truth. And we want a useful truth. Remember, erase the word accuracy from your brain. It does not exist in the world of data. It does not exist. I don't care. It doesn't exist. But there is a useful truth, and that's what we're looking for, right? You want that useful truth, something you can actually take action on and improve your marketing from, and which Google Analytics gives you plenty. So in this case, I've got a useful truth that I think is 1,400, right? Roughly 1,400. I want to TBV that. I want to trust but verify. We always call it TBV. So we're going to TBV, right? Trust but verify that this number is giving me a useful truth. How do I do that? Well, one thing I will do is I will look at the number of page views and compare it to the number of uniques, right? Again, ratio is what I'm looking here. Roughly 2 to 1. So it's like the homepage is being viewed twice for every one unique visit. It's kind of what's kind of happening here. Now, that might be okay. It's a homepage. People are going back and forth and exploring the site, so maybe that's okay. But if I see a pattern of 2 to 1, right? For every 2 page views, I get one unique or something like that. I have an implementation issue because the site's not designed to do that. Let's see if this continues. Well, here's the Academy page, the offer page, roughly 1 to 1, right? Some people will see it a couple times, so that's fine. Most people are going to see it once. That's about what's happening here. I see the Certified Measurement Marketers page. Now that one is getting a lot of traffic by the same people, checking it over and over again. Possible, because the certification program's a little unique. Then we have this, 33 to 29. This is the another version of the marketing page. Now, this is an important point. You see it says, I can tell in the URL, it's the Measurement Marketing Academy, but you see here is a parameter. It says ref equals nav. This tells us, because we set our site up to do this, this tells us that they came in from the navigation link. That's what brought them to the page. This tells us that they didn't come in from the navigation link, right? There was no, they showed up from some other way. So we split these up. So if I made the assumption that, okay, 40 people saw the Academy page, that is not true. It's actually 41 plus 29 plus however many else came through. And I have seen really smart people make this unfortunate error where they just go, oh, well, I've had 41 people, and they make assumptions based off that. But that's not what's actually happening. So I'm going to give you another little tip when you're strategizing your Google Analytics to get a useful truth is you put the page that you're looking for in here. So for us, I'm just going to do marketing-academy, and I'm going to find every page that sort of has this little marketing academy in it. And it should just be our Measurement Marketing Academies, but let's find out. So here's all the different versions of the Measurement Marketing Academy. I've got some coming in from the toolbox, some that are coming in from the bottom navigation link, some that are coming in from the homepage link, others that are coming in from the courses, it looks like, our course catalog that are coming in, others that are coming in from the member announcement that we've got. So, and there's a lot, right, that are coming through here. So we see all of these, and now I have a better understanding of the actual traffic that I'm getting, right? In this case, there's 164 unique views to a version of the Measurement Marketing Academy page. We have different ones as well. But that's as good for me. Now I understand instead of 40 that I thought I had, I actually have 164, right? Again, it's can I trust what's there? So what I look for is pattern. It's like, oh, these are basically one-to-one. That's about this particular page. It is meant to be viewed essentially just once during a visit. And that's kind of what's happening here. Roughly speaking, that's what's happening, right? 189 total views, 164 uniques. That means most people are seeing it once each visit as opposed to multiple times in the same visit. And that's okay. That makes sense to me. I also see that they're spending some time on there. I see that they're not bouncing as much as other pages might be. That's good, right? I see that it's, got a little page value, which means making some sales. Which is good too. So I can start to see, okay, this is great. Now, for me, I know that I've got a useful truth now because I'm not seeing any weird, obvious errors. However, it is easier, and this is where you go to your team and you say, set this up for me because this guy on this workshop showed me this thing and I want ours to do this too. There are two things that I've done to customize ours. First is I put the entire domain in there because it makes it much easier to read. So what I mean by that is if I go into Google's, and we'll go to Google's demo account, we go to site content and all pages, look at how different this looks like. So as I come through, you see /home, /basket, /store, but you can't really see the entire domain. So that is something called the host name. I'm just going to show you what that is. Secondary dimension, host name. Cool little pro tip here to pull this up. And you can see that they're all the shop dot, except this one's not. This one is Google Merchandise Store. Now watch what happens here. Here's my home. If I assume in my head, right, this is where it goes to people say, oh, I can't trust what this is telling me. If I assume this is the homepage and I have a picture of what the homepage is, I have 11,000 and 9,000 of them unique, and I think about all the traffic. But watch what happens when I do the host name. And then I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to look for /home. So I'm just using my little box here, and I'm just going to look for the homepage now. And you can actually see there are shop.Google Merchandise Store and there are www.Google Merchandise Store, right? These two, they're actually split up. So I have 7,000 that are coming on the shop.home homepage. I have another 2,000 uniques that are on the www.Google Merchandise Store homepage. Two different homepages that Google Analytics does not tell them, right? Because they haven't set it up properly. In order to set it up properly, you should have your domains in there. You got to have what they call the host name technically. And that's what shows this entire thing. So you can very, very clearly see what domain it is. And please do this. There's a lot of people who say, well, I don't really need to know that. We literally had a very, very large popular client that I promise you already know about. This client, because they're that big, and they had their site scraped. And then the person who scraped their site, this company scraped or whatever it was that scraped their site, it put up another site under a different domain. So they were duplicating their content and trying to do some SEO stuff or whatever. Who knows? It was definitely black hat. And what happened was they instantly saw othersite.com and then their URLs, right? Blog or whatever else. So if you imagine here, it would be like they would see store policies, frequently asked questions, but somebody scraped it. If somebody scraped it, they couldn't tell because they wouldn't be seeing the domain up front. But imagine this saying someothersite.com, right? If that host name was different and you don't have it displayed here, you can't tell the difference without digging into it. So they would have just thought, oh, we're getting a bunch of extra traffic. Yay, us. But they weren't. Somebody was stealing their stuff. So they immediately saw it because the URLs were different, right? It was the same ending part, what they call the page path. This part is the page path. But the host name was completely different. It means it was a different domain. So they were able to do a cease and desist and get that site taken down. But they would not have known that if they did not set this up in their Google Analytics. So very important little pro tip there when it comes to that. The other pro tip that I want to give you is to create a parameters view. So I'm going to go back and I'm talking about what I mean by that. This is technically our parameters view because it shows all these little parameters here, little ref equals, all that sort of stuff. And this is default. This is what Google Analytics does by default, right? It shows you all these different versions of essentially the same page sometimes, right? So if I just look at, let's just do membership / measurement. And we're going to pull up all the different versions of this page. So there's the Academy with the parameter. There's an Academy without the parameter, Academy with a different parameter, yet another parameter, yet another parameter, yet another parameter, yet another parameter. You get the idea. There's a lot of different ones. So how do you handle that? You create a no parameters view, which I'm going to do here. All I'm doing is I'm flipping the views, and I'm going to look at a much simpler version of what's happening. It's the exact same stuff. It's the exact same thing, except it's been combined. So I can very quickly see, I had 179 to this page, 130 of them unique. I had 10 to this page, 8 of them unique. Bam, done, right? We know a good, useful, very quick truth, and I know I can trust my analytics because this makes sense based upon other ways that we're measuring it. So we have that, right? We're doing our own triangulation of the truth in other ways. So I know I've got a useful truth, but doing the no parameters views will immensely help you to get through instead of looking at a million different versions of the same URL and getting caught up in that because people forget that they're looking at a bunch, right? They forget to look at this little number down here, and you don't have to do that as much if you have the no parameters view. All right, so with that, we're getting a little long here, so I want to make sure that you know at least your one thing. Focus on what your one thing was. Was it the idea of triangulating the truth and making sure that they are all sort of coordinated, the truth is somewhere in the middle, the idea that truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern, and that they should grow or shrink together and keep the same trend and pattern, and if that's happening, you know you have a useful truth. And maybe the idea of trust but verify, hopefully that's it, where you trust that something is set up correctly, but you go skeptical in your mindset, you become skeptical, and you basically try to prove to yourself that it is incorrect. You prove to yourself that it's wrong. And if you can find it, because you're looking for the error, you are more likely to see errors and improve things that way. So that's the whole trust but mindset, trust but verify, TBV mindset. All right. With that, next week, we are doing, yet of course, another Workshop Wednesday. It is the first workshop of the month, since it'll be for August. So we will go back through the month of July, and we will look at all of the changes and updates that have occurred in July 2021 to Google Analytics, Tag Manager, and Data Studio. So if you want that, just make sure you subscribe to the channel. You get notified, and we love to see you there. Otherwise, you have other options. If you want a free version of our membership, there are some people who it's just not time to invest in something like the Measurement Marketing Academy. I get that. But we do have a free version. It's called the Measurement Marketing Toolbox. And you get these weekly workshops. You see the most current workshop is going to be there. The traffic tracking toolkit. You've got dashboard toolkits. There's a split test optimization pipeline. There is a power planner for forecasting and results. There's a lot of stuff back there. There's like 40 different tools that we offer you for free and along with this training. So you can get that. Just go to measure.tips/WW if you want to go ahead and open up a free account. But if you're ready for the Measurement Marketing Academy, I would definitely encourage you to do that. Remember, we built the Academy to help you learn this, to go through the framework, to learn all the tools, to learn how to structure the thing, to learn how to get traffic actually in a useful way into Google Analytics, how to actually measure result, what results should even be measured, not just how to set a goal, but what should a goal even be and what do you do with it? All that sort of stuff is back in the Academy, and we have instructors standing by there as well. I'm going to give you a very, very quick tour when it comes to the Academy itself, so you can take a look at it. This is the dashboard. So when you come in, you actually have access to these 6 blocks here that you would have access to. This is all of our courses. We have the on-demand workshops, and we've got the toolbox. That's kind of the majority of the content training part of the Academy. So Win courses look something like this. So you can see Win Google Optimize is there. We have them organized by date because a lot of members will maybe take off a month and then come back in, and they want to see and get caught up on the latest and greatest. So we always update them. So this is Google Optimize. It was just updated in July, actually this month. Server side was one of our new ones. It came out last month. Tag Manager, Beyond Basics, a little more advanced Tag Manager stuff was the month before that. It was an update. But you can see all the stuff we've had. Also, grouped by topic. So if you're wanting to learn Google Analytics, things like Google Analytics 4 Basics, this is the one that's going to get redone in August, actually. So we're a couple of weeks away, and that'll get updated. That was last updated in October, and that was the second time we updated it in the year. So this will be the third time in a year that we have updated this platform, this particular course. But GA4 is a rapidly growing platform. It just goes to show you how often we do it. Then there's Tag Manager. Of course, you've got Data Studio if you're learning data studios and reporting and how to build funnels or work with sheets, whatever it is. And then you've got Measurement Strategy, which I think is the secret sauce. Because when you understand how to think about this stuff, the tool part of it gets a lot easier. So the strategy is the hard part, and we can help you out with that. So that's the Win courses. You also have, that's there, the on-demand workshops. that looks kind of like this, where you have the Workshop Wednesday, right, that's coming in. You've got the different topics that are there for our students. They are edited down for Academy members. This is what you would have access to. So you can always reference them whenever you want. And it is searchable, so you can type in, goal or whatever the thing is you're looking for, and find what you need. So on your own time, you can do this. So whether it's 2 a.m, you can hopefully get unstuck and moving forward fast for the way that you need it. So that is the on-demand workshops. The toolbox is right in here. So there's our toolbox. Remember, I talked about all these tools. These are tools we've created for our members. They are all proprietary and custom, and they are for you. So you can have access to all of those back here. You actually get this with the toolbox membership too, if you want that. But the Get It Done guides is the additional bonus item that comes with the Academy. So this is our first one, the Eyes on the Journey. There are more to come as we produce about once every, probably 4 months or so, we get another one in there. But these help you to do kind of like craft kits to build specific things with the skills that you now have. So like the Eyes on the Journey report, one of our famous ones. Then that's our toolbox. You have support. How do you get answers when you've got questions? Because we know you're going to. You need to talk this stuff out with people. You just do. Measurement's not something you can really do on your own. You want to talk it out, talk out the strategy, talk out the tactics, talk out the implementation, talk out the results and how you interpret stuff. That's Winner Circle. There's a lot of people in Winner Circle where you've got updates and they're coming through, and members helping members with their own special skills. This is also going through a pretty nice little update. This should be ready in a couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. Going to work a little bit more like Slack does, but it's going to be really cool. So the idea is that you can help other people back here because you understand measurement marketing and they'll understand measurement marketing, or they can help you when they're just starting out. So you'll be able to access that, and that's peers helping peers, right? Students helping students. However, that's not the only support. There's also Ask an Instructor. So Ask an Instructor is where you need help from us. We have measurement marketing instructors that are standing by. We do this stuff every single day. We are on the cutting edge of this stuff, right? All the time with multiple platforms, multiple business models. We've seen a ton and will continue to see more than you ever will, more than likely. And so when you need help, you want to work with somebody who can give you that help. This is no extra cost to the Academy. It's included with your Academy membership. You come in here, go to the Ask Instructor support, put in your question, put in your description or whatever the details are, send us over screenshots, send us over videos of you walking through the issue, and then we will send you back screenshots and videos too. So it's like literally as close as you can get to calling somebody like me over to your workstation and saying, hey, can you look at this and give me your opinion? It's exactly what people do, and they do it all the time. So our members really love Ask an Instructor support. And then these are the hours. So Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern US is what the hours are for the instructors standing by. And most of the time you get an answer within 24 business hours. That's the idea, to keep it up and going. So that's Ask an Instructor support. Now, this entire thing, again, courses, the Ask Instructor, the On-Demand Workshop, Winner Circle, courses, you get access to everything. There are no limits. So it's unlimited courses. It's unlimited updates. If we do a new course, you're going to get it. If we do an update, you're going to get it, right? As long as you're an active member, you get all access to everything. The Ask Instructor support, very simple. There is no limits to that at all. You can ask 12 questions a day for all we care. The more questions you ask, the better it is, actually, because it shows you are using stuff, and we know you're going to have questions. So please use that. The On-Demand Workshop library, there's now over like 230, at least 240 live videos that are back there, well over 200, so that you have access to everything. There's nothing that's hidden back there from you. You got to get it all. And of course, the Winner Circle community, unlimited access to that as well. It's a total of $8,500 in training and support that you have access to as an Academy member. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that this was an option. It is substantially less than $8,500 per month. But if you take a look at the options, you just go to measure.tips/get Academy. Again, measure.tips/get Academy, and you will see we have both monthly and annual options available. I would recommend the annual option. It is the one that's going to be the best long-term fit because this does take time. You want to learn this stuff. Going through the framework, people have asked us, how long does it normally take? Figure about 90 days to get through it once and really practice some skills and build some muscle. But then you're going to go through it again and again and again, and we will be in your corner at every step of the way. So with that, we will go ahead and officially bring this one to a close. You have watched Strategy Session. Can you trust your Google Analytics? Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.